On a freezing November evening in 2022, a 32-year-old IT specialist named Ankit Patel walked through the sliding doors of Toronto Pearson International Airport Terminal 1. In his pocket was a permanent resident visa, and in his bank account was 22,000 Canadian dollars, a life savings accumulated over a decade of hard work in Mumbai. Like hundreds of thousands before him, Ankit had bought into the promise of the Canadian dream: high wages, free public healthcare, political safety, and a fast track to citizenship through Canada's famous Express Entry program. But just 90 days later, standing in a windowless basement apartment in Brampton, Ontario, where he was paying $1,800 a month, Ankit realized something alarming. His savings were nearly depleted, his foreign qualifications were rejected by local employers, and his dream had transformed into a crushing financial crisis. Canada is widely marketed as the world's most welcoming destination for global talent. But what is the true, unvarnished cost of moving to Canada today? Why are so many skilled newcomers going broke? And why are record numbers of immigrants packing their bags and leaving? To understand how Canada reached this point, we have to look back to 1967. That was the year Canada revolutionized global immigration by introducing the world's first points-based system under Prime Minister Lester B. Pearson. Instead of selecting newcomers based on national origin, Canada prioritized education, age, language skills, and job experience. For decades, this system was heralded as a masterclass in economic planning. By the 2010s, immigration became the primary engine driving Canada's demographic and economic growth. Facing an aging domestic workforce and a plummeting fertility rate, which dropped to a historical low of 1.33 births per woman by 2022, the federal government in Ottawa leaned heavily into aggressive growth targets. Under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and former Immigration Minister Sean Fraser, Canada set unprecedented quotas. The federal target was raised to welcome 500,000 permanent residents annually by 2025. When combined with temporary foreign workers and international students, Canada's population grew by over 1.2 million people in the year 2023 alone, a staggering growth rate of 3.2%, the fastest since 1957. But while the government successfully scaled up the influx of people, Canada's physical infrastructure, healthcare systems, and housing supply remained practically static, creating a massive economic bottleneck that modern newcomers must now pay to navigate. Let us break down the exact balance sheet that every prospective immigrant faces when moving to Canada. The financial drain begins years before setting foot on Canadian soil. First comes the administrative setup. Before an applicant can even submit a profile to Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or IRCC, they must pay for the International English Language Testing System exam, costing approximately $340. Next, foreign credentials must be evaluated through services like World Education Services, costing $240 plus transcript dispatch fees. Once an invitation to apply is issued, IRCC charges an $850 processing fee, a $575 right of permanent residence fee, and an $85 biometrics fee per adult. Add mandatory immigration medical exams at $300 per person, and an individual applicant spends over $2,100 in non-refundable government fees before ever boarding a flight. Furthermore, IRCC enforces a strict proof of funds requirement. As of May 2024, a single Express Entry applicant must prove they hold at least $14,690 Canadian dollars in unencumbered liquid funds. For a family of four, that baseline requirement rises to $27,270. But the true financial shock hits upon arrival. A single one-way flight to Vancouver or Toronto averages $1,200. Upon landing, newcomers enter one of the most expensive housing markets in the Western world. In the Greater Toronto Area, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment crossed $2,400 a month in late 2023. Because newcomers lack Canadian credit scores and local reference letters, landlords routinely demand 3 to 6 months of rent paid up front in cash. For a family landing in Peel Region or Metro Vancouver, initial housing setup, temporary short-term stays, transit passes, winter clothing, and basic living expenses consume $15,000 to $20,000 within the first 90 days. Beyond these visible expenses lies an even deeper structural tax, the Canadian experience trap and credential devaluation. Thousands of doctors, engineers, accountants, and teachers arrive under Express Entry as highly skilled workers, only to find that regulatory bodies require years of redundant local recertification. A foreign-trained doctor can spend over $10,000 in exam fees through the Medical Council of Canada, only to languish without a residency match. A Statistics Canada report published in late 2023 revealed that despite having higher formal education levels on average, recent immigrants earn up to 20% less than Canadian-born workers, a wage gap that takes over 15 years to close. Economists examine two primary theories to explain this systemic breakdown. The first theory suggests an intentional economic model designed to fuel corporate profits. Critics argue that by dramatically expanding the International Student Program and Temporary Foreign Worker Initiative, Canada created a secondary tier of precarious labor designed to suppress wages in low-cost service sectors like fast food and retail, while artificially propping up hyperinflated real estate values. The second theory points to administrative incompetence and institutional misalignment across federal, provincial, and municipal governments. While Ottawa manages immigration intake, the provinces control healthcare and housing approvals. Because these levels of government failed to coordinate, the public health system fractured, and national housing shortages hit historic crisis levels. The human impact of this policy disconnect is clear. A groundbreaking study by the Institute for Canadian Citizenship in late 2023 revealed that reverse migration among recent permanent residents reached record levels, with onward migration rates rising by over 31% since 2019. Highly qualified immigrants are increasingly deciding that the mathematical equation simply does not add up. Facing intense public pressure and economic reality, the Canadian government began taking corrective measures in early 2024. Current Immigration Minister Mark Miller announced a temporary 2-year cap on international student visas, cutting new study permits by 35%. Furthermore, Ottawa doubled the mandatory cost of living requirement for international students from $10,000 to $20,635, acknowledging that the previous threshold was dangerously unrealistic. However, for those looking to migrate today, the message is unequivocal. Canada remains a land of safety, political stability, and long-term opportunity, but the initial price of entry has skyrocketed. Immigrating successfully now requires not just paper qualifications, but a liquid financial cushion of $30,000 to $50,000, a resilient strategy for professional recertification, and realistic expectations regarding housing expenses. The real cost of immigrating to Canada is far more than just application fees. It is an investment of time, capital, and emotional endurance. What do you think about Canada evolving immigration policy? Have you or someone you know navigated this journey? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, leave a like if you enjoyed this deep dive, and subscribe for more in-depth economic breakdowns.